The 1978 FIFA World Cup, the 11th staging of the FIFA World Cup, quadrennial international football world championship tournament, was held in Argentina between 1 and 25 June. The 1978 World Cup was won by Argentina, who beat the Netherlands 3-1 at River Plate's home stadium Estadio Monumental in the Argentine capital of Buenos Aires after extra time in the final. This win was the first World Cup title for Argentina, who became the fifth team, after Uruguay, Italy, England and West Germany, to be both hosts and world champions. Argentina, the Netherlands and Brazil were the gold, silver and bronze medalists respectively. Iran and Tunisia made their first appearances in the finals. This was also the last World Cup tournament to use the original inclusion of 16 teams. Only 15 teams, plus the host, who automatically qualified, had been allowed to qualify since the first World Cup in 1930. For the next World Cup in Spain, FIFA expanded that tournament to 24 teams. Argentina was chosen as the host nation by FIFA in London, England on July 6, 1966. Mexico withdrew from the bidding process after having been awarded the 1970 competition 2 years earlier. Juan Domingo Perón saluting the crowd, the inspiration of the Argentina 78 logo. The logo is based on Juan Perón's signature gesture, a salute to the crowd with both arms extended above his head. This was one of the most famous, populist images of Perón. The design was created in 1974, 2 years prior to the military coup in 1976. The military leadership were aware that the World Cup's logo symbolized Perón's gesture, and they tried to change the competition's logo. At this point, the design was already broadly commercialized and the merchandise had already been made. A forced modification would trigger a sea of lawsuits against the country, so the military munched the defeat. England failed to qualify for the second World Cup in succession, losing out to Italy. European champions Czechoslovakia, Yugoslavia, and the Soviet Union also failed to qualify for the finals. Uruguay failed to qualify for the first time since 1958. Newcomers to the finals were Iran and Tunisia. Austria qualified for the first time since 1958, while France, Spain and Hungary were back for the first time since 1966. For the first time, more than 100 nations entered the competition. A controversial fact surrounding the 1978 World Cup was that Argentina had suffered a military coup only 2 years before the Cup, a coup known as the National Reorganization Process. Less than a year before the World Cup, in September 1977, Interior Minister General Albano Arguindege stated that 5,618 people had recently disappeared. The infamous Naval Mechanics School, known by its acronym ISMA, held concentration camp prisoners of the Dirty War, and those held captive reportedly could hear the roars of the crowd during matches held at River Plate's Monumental Stadium, located only a mile away, prompting echoes of Hitler's political manipulation of sports during the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Because of the political turmoil, some countries, most notably the Netherlands, considered publicly whether they should participate in the event. Despite this, all teams eventually took part without restrictions. Allegations that Dutch star Johan Cruyff refused to participate because of political convictions were denied by him 30 years later. More controversy surrounded the host, Argentina, as all of their games in the first round kicked off at night, giving the Argentines the advantage of knowing where they stood in the group. This issue would arise again in Spain 1982, which prompted FIFA to change the rules so that the final 2 group games in subsequent World Cups would be played simultaneously. Further accusations surround the game. Argentina and Peru played in the second round of the tournament. Argentina needed to win by a margin of 4 goals to proceed to the final and did so by defeating Peru by 6-0. However, claims that the Argentine military dictatorship interfered to ensure Argentina would defeat Peru were denied by the Peruvian captain and several Peruvian players. Some accusations originated in the Brazilian media and pointed to the fact that the Peruvian goalkeeper had been born in Argentina. There is also an alleged deal, reported by the British media as an anonymous rumor, That involved the delivery of a large grain shipment to Peru by Argentina and the unfreezing of a Peruvian bank account that was held by the Argentine Central Bank. Another alleged deal, published by a Colombian drug lord in a controversial book, involved the Peruvian team being bribed without any political implications. A third alleged deal, claimed by a Peruvian leftist politician, encompassed sending 13 Peruvian dissidents exiled in Argentina back to Peru. On top of the contradictions between stories, no evidence is shown in any case. 3 months before the World Cup, Argentina had beaten Peru 3-1 in Lima. Head-to-head record was 15-3 in favor of the hosting nation, and Peru had never beaten Argentina away from home. However, Peru had conceded only 6 goals in their previous 5 games in the World Cup. During the first half, Peru hit the post twice after 2 counters when the game was 0-0. Argentina managed to get ahead 2-0 before the end of the first 45 minutes. During the second half, Argentina was ahead 4-0 when Peru had another clear chance. Argentina kept attacking and scored twice more, making it 6-0 and surpassing the needed margin. There was also some domestic controversy as well, as Argentine manager Cesar Luis Menotti did not call up 17-year-old Argentinos Juniors local star Diego Maradona, as Menotti felt the exceptionally talented Maradona was too young to handle the pressures of such an important tournament on home soil, and that the expectations of the team's performance would probably revolve around the Buenos Aires-born youngster. The format of the competition stayed the same as in 1974, 16 teams qualified, divided into 4 groups of 4. Each group played a round-robin with 2 points for a win and 1 for a draw, and goal difference used to separate teams level on points. The top 2 teams in each group would advance to the second round, where they would be split into 2 groups of 4. The winners of each group would play each other in the final, and the second-place finishers in the third-place match. For the 1978 World Cup, FIFA introduced the penalty shootout as a means of determining the winner in knockout stages should the match end on a draw after 120 minutes. The method, however, was not put in practice as both the third-place match and the final were decided before 120 minutes. The first World Cup to feature a penalty shootout was the 1982 World Cup, in the semi-final match between France and West Germany. The first round produced several surprises. Poland won Group 2 ahead of world champions West Germany, after holding the Germans to a goalless draw and then beating Tunisia and Mexico. The Germans then thrashed Mexico 6-0, and finally played out a second goalless draw against Tunisia. Although they failed to qualify for the second round, Tunisia made history by beating Mexico 3-1 while losing 0-1 at halftime. It was the first time that any African team had won a match at the World Cup finals. Peru pushed the Netherlands into second place in Group 4, where Scotland missed out on goal difference for the second successive tournament. Teofilo Cubas was outstanding for Peru, scoring twice against Scotland in Peru's 3-1 win and hitting a hat-trick in their 4-1 victory over Iran. Rob van den Brink of the Netherlands also scored 3 times against Iran, scoring all the goals as the Dutch won 3-0. Scotland drew with Iran 1-1, and the only highlight of their campaign was a 3-2 victory over the Netherlands in their final group game, which was not enough to prevent elimination. Iran, the reigning Asian champions, went out of the tournament winless. Van den Brink's goal against Scotland was the 1000th goal of World Cup history. Scotland's Willie Johnston was expelled from the World Cup after he was found to have taken a banned stimulant during the opening game against Peru. The biggest surprise of all came in Group 3, where Austria finished ahead of Brazil. The Austrians beat Spain and Sweden, while Brazil were held to draws by the same 2 teams. The draw with Sweden was especially controversial. Welsh referee Clive Thomas awarded Brazil a very late corner kick and Zico directly headed a kick into the net, but Thomas blew for time before Zico made contact with the ball and the goal was disallowed. The Brazilian players were not happy with the decision, but the final result remained a 1-1 draw. Brazil needed to beat Austria in their final group game, and/or beat Spain in their second group game to be sure of progressing to the second round, and managed the 1-0 win thanks to a goal from Roberto Dinamite. Brazil and Austria thus finished with the same number of points and the same goal difference, but Austria won the group by virtue of having scored more goals. Group 1 had the strongest lineup of teams in the first round, featuring Italy, the host Argentina, France, and Hungary. The two places in the second round were claimed before the final round of games, with Italy and Argentina both beating France and Hungary. The match between Italy and Argentina decided who topped the group, and a goal from Roberto Bettega midway through the second half was enough to give that honor to Italy. It also forced Argentina to move out of Buenos Aires and play in Rosario. The 1978 World Cup marked the third and last occasion during which the national team did not wear its own kit to play a match, the first being in a 1950 World Cup first-round match between Switzerland and Mexico. The second being in a 1958 World Cup first-round match between West Germany and Argentina. The incident happened during the game between France and Hungary. Both teams arrived at the venue with only their white change kits, resulting in a delayed kickoff while officials went in search of the jerseys of a local team from Mar del Plata, Club Atlético Kimberley. The jerseys had vertical green and white stripes and were worn by France. In the All-European Group A, the Netherlands got off to a flying start by thrashing Austria 5-1, Johnny Rep scoring 2 of their goals. In a rematch of the 1974 final, the Dutch then drew 2-2 with West Germany, who had previously shared a goalless game with Italy. The Italians beat Austria 1-0, and so the Netherlands faced Italy in their last group game knowing that the winners would reach the final. Ernie Brands scored an 18th-minute own goal to put Italy ahead at halftime, but he made up for his mistake by scoring at the right end in the 5th minute of the second half. Harry Ham got the winner for the Dutch with 15 minutes remaining, and the Netherlands had reached their second successive World Cup final. In the game known as the Miracle of Cordoba, West Germany were surprisingly beaten by Austria 2-3, which marked their end as world champions. Group B was essentially a battle between Argentina and Brazil, and it was resolved in controversial circumstances. In the first round of group games, Brazil beat Peru 3-0 while Argentina saw Poland off by a score of 2-0. Brazil and Argentina then played out a tense and violent goalless draw, so both teams went into the last round of matches with 3 points. Argentina delayed the kickoff of its last match to await the result of the Brazil-Poland encounter. Brazil won by a 3-1 score, meaning Argentina had to beat Peru by 4 clear goals to reach the final, but they managed to do it. Trailing 2-0 at halftime, Peru simply collapsed in the second half, and Argentina eventually won 6-0. As previously noted, rumors suggested that Peru might have been bribed or threatened into allowing Argentina to win the match by such a large margin. However, nothing could be proved, and Argentina met the Netherlands in the final. Brazil took third place from an enterprising Italian side with Molino scoring a memorable goal, and were dubbed world champions by coach Claudio Coutinho, because they did not win the tournament, but did not lose a single match. The final, Argentina vs Netherlands, was also controversial, as the Dutch accused the Argentines of using stalling tactics to delay the match. The host team came out late and questioned the legality of a plaster cast on René van de Kerkhof's wrist, which the Dutch claimed allowed tension to build in front of a hostile Buenos Aires crowd. Mario Kempes opened the scoring for the hosts before Dick Noneng equalized a few minutes from the end. Rob Brink had a glorious stoppage time opportunity to win it for the Netherlands, but his effort came back off the goal post. Argentina won the final 3-1 after extra time, after Daniel Bertoni scored and Kempes, who finished as the tournament's top scorer with 6 goals, added his second of the day. The Netherlands, because of the controversial game events, refused to attend the post-match ceremonies after the match ended. They had lost their second consecutive World Cup final, both times to the host nation, after losing to West Germany in 1974. Argentina won 5 games but became the first team to win the World Cup after failing to win 2 matches, losing to Italy in the first round and drawing with Brazil in the second round. 4 years later, Italy would win the next World Cup despite failing to win 3 games. The official mascot of this World Cup was Cordoba, a boy wearing an Argentina kit. His hat, with the words Argentina 78, neckerchief, and whip are typical of gauchos. Of the 6 venues used, the Argentine National Stadium, the Estadio Monumental in Buenos Aires was the largest and most used venue, hosting 9 total matches, including the final match. The Carreras Stadium in Cordoba hosted 8 matches. The stadiums in Mendoza, Rosario and Mar del Plata each hosted 6 matches, and the José Amalfitani Stadium in Buenos Aires hosted 3 matches. The Manila Stadium in Mar del Plata was heavily criticized due to its terrible pitch, which was deemed nearly unplayable, whereas the Amalfitani Stadium in Buenos Aires, the least used stadium for this tournament, was praised for its very good pitch. Brazil was forced by tournament organizers to play all 3 of its first group matches in Mar del Plata,